Hi guys, this video is kindly sponsored by Autodesk. So today I just want to go through aero and combustion, and I want to simplify it for you as an artist. I've seen quite a lot of tutorials going around which for me overcomplicate things and perhaps scare off some artists to doing fire using Bifrost. There are a multitude of ways that we can cut out a lot of the randomize this and change rates to that with lots of extra daisy chains of nodes that we just don't need. So I'm going to start by speaking about your source geometry. So obviously with every aero simulation, when we're creating flames or smokes or whatever, you have to have a source piece of geometry. If your source piece of geometry isn't doing much, then your simulation isn't going to do much either. What it can do by introducing lots of other nodes like fractal fields and change ranges of different temperatures and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, if your source geometry is doing something interesting in the first place, then so is your simulation. So that's where I like to start. So we've got a sphere, and let me just drag over Bifrost here. Just try and make a little bit more room. Sorry, it's kind of hard doing it on a small screen, but whatever. So let's just quickly lay down. I'm just going to start typing combustion, and then we can see that we've got basic combustion graph. Let's click on that, right click, explode. So we can see that we've got source fuel plugged into our source here, and we've got our little combustion settings down here. And the next thing I'm going to do is bring in our sphere, which is going to be our source geometry. Now that little source sphere is really unappealing. Obviously if it was a campfire or something like that, we could have some logs over the top, they could be collision objects. I mean, where in life are you actually just going to see the sphere emitting flames? It's just kind of like, it just doesn't really happen. So I want to add some interest to that sphere, so I'm just going to put in if I just type in mesh, then in here I've got a add mesh noise node. If you haven't got this, I'm just going to open this up briefly. You should have this. I'm not sure if it ships with Maya, but here is the graph for creating that. I'm just going to click on each node so you can pause the video and take a screenshot or whatever you want to do, and there we go. So, but it should be in Bifrost. Right, so I'm just going to plug in our sphere here, and I'm just going to plug its output into our output, and I'm going to dock this again. And I'm going to get our original sphere, just put it on display layer and hide it. So we can see now that we've got some movement on our sphere. It's doing that, which is great because we want it to do something. So we can up the magnitude here. And I might even go into our original sphere and put in some more divisions, something like 60. And then I might do something like, just give it like a slightly more odd shape. And then change the frequencies a little bit. Something like 2. And when I play now, it's undulating. I like that word, undulating. And we can change the speed of it as well, so it's doing something. I might want to just, you can play around with this to your heart's content and get a shape that works. Now, so we're going to be emitting fuel from this object, and it's going to hit our air temperature, and it's going to create combustion. So I'm going to leave that plugged in there, and I'm going to just quickly create and assign material. Just quickly go into the hypershade, and in here I'm going to type in AI standard volume. That comes up, and in the preset I'm just going to go to default Bifrost aero, and leave that as that, and just drag that into the graph, and we'll kill the hypershade, and we're going to plug this into our volume material, and we're going to plug our volume into there and plug that into there, and there we go. We've got a little system set up. Now we are going to have to add a couple more nodes, but it's really not going to be anything crazy. So with the source there, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to link because I don't want to keep messing around with both numbers here, and there is a button for this, I'm going to use the fluid detail size. So I'm going to link our geometry, our object, to the detail size there. So whatever I change here will, you know, update this. 0.05, let's not start so high, let's just start at 0.08. Fog density, I might introduce that in a little while. We've got a temperature which should match our source fuel, which it does. Initial speed off, and I'm going to play with some other settings in there in a little while. So let's just play first. We're going to get like a, you know, an explosion type deal going on. In fact, we're getting absolutely nothing. Sphere, admission noise. I'll plug that into. I need to plug that into the source air. Get them up. Get in there. Right. And then, yeah, now we can see we've got something rather horrible going on. So that's like, you know, nuke style explosion happening. We don't want that. So first things first, it's just going to combustion, and we'll just quickly turn expansion scale down to like really low, and heating, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to rewind and play. So we've got less of a massive cloud going up, which is all good. Radiative cooling, I'm just going to turn that down to about 0.1. So it's not nuts. Now in this tutorial, I'm not going to touch the buoyancy of the flame. I'm going to keep that as is, because we could go in there and say, hey, we want to slow it down, let's mess with the buoyancy. I don't think you should, but you know, that's it's up to the individual. What I'm going to do though is go into the speed, and I'm going to change the speed mode to a min. And let's see where we're at. Everything's a lot slower. We do not have that big cloud of smoke anymore. We just have, you know, like fuel coming off of our object. And we can't see it very well because of the resolution, obviously, but let's stick with this low res for a minute. So where are we at? So we've got radiative cooling going on. Right. So next, let's go with, let's add some dissipation. So I'm just gonna dissipate a couple of things. I'm just gonna Control C, Control V that. So I've got two of them. So we've got one plugged in here, which is for voxel fog density. Fine. And we've got another one here. I'm going to change this to voxel velocity. Now, if you want to know what you can change, why did I plug that into the collider? I don't even need a collider. Get out of here. It goes into influences, and so does this. If you want to know what you can put in here, all you need to do is come out here, and we'll just right click and add a watch point. And we'll get a little nifty menu turn up which shows you all of the different things that are being written. So we can see that we just did voxel velocity, which is down here. And we also did voxel fog density, which is here. But we can add more options if we want. So let's remove that. And so with the velocity, I'm going to slow things down via dissipation. Yeah, so if I put in here like 100 and rewind it, 100 is not what we want, but you can see that everything's slowed down considerably. So I'm just going to have like 3 in here, and then for the dissipation of the fog density, I'm going to go with 5 for now. I'm going to go back to my source here, and I'm going to lower the resolution a little bit, just a little bit at a time, because I don't want my computer to just go, no. And now we can see we've got actual flames coming off. We've got no like explosion effects, and we could just add some more dissipation to lower the height of that. In fact, we could add back in a little bit more radiative cooling if we wanted. We could also change the combustion smoothness. So the combustion smoothness, if we put that down to like 2, it's going to look a bit more grumpy looking. And that is something that we perhaps want with flame. So we've got our flame doing its thing. It's all been nice and fast and quick. We haven't had to do anything scary. But we can start playing around with some of these values a bit more now. So we could even dissipate the temperature if we wanted to. Control Z, Control V, and then we'll just in here we'll just go voxel temperature. We're going to give it a background value which is the same as the ambient temperature. So let's do that, and let's plug this bad boy in as well. We might see that it just completely cools it down straight away from the get-go, which we can. So let's just lower this to like 0.1. That's a little bit too much. Let's go 0.01. Again, too much. So what I would do actually is if we just create a mask influence, and I'm going to put that on this dissipation, right? Now, with this mask influence, if I wanted to, as an artistic tool, I could create maybe this cube and drag it up here. I'm going to put it on a display layer. I'm going to pull that cube in, and this cube is going to be our dissipation mask. So whenever the flame enters this cube, we're going to get a fall off of temperature. And this is cool because it's like, it's an artistic thing. We can move it around, we can scale it up and down, we can animate it, we can do what we want. So if I press play now, and I'll just actually turn that dissipation influence back up to 1, hit play. When those flames enter there, they should start cooling down and turn into smoke. Let's just check that our mask influence is set to on. Dissipation 1 mask. Let's turn the dissipation value up. Let's go up 10. Rewind, play. And now we can see it cooling down a hell of a lot faster. So at the moment that's a little bit sharp, so what I would probably do is add some fall off. Let's have like a drop off of 10. Probably a bit mad, but let's pull this up a bit more. Rewind and play. So it shouldn't just start straight away. It does. That drop off's probably got to be quite large, so let's try like 150. Rewind, play. Obviously what we're trying to achieve here is just like a soft fall off. It's not really soft, so let's just say our rate is perhaps too high. As with any simulation, a lot of this is all kind of a little bit of trial and error. There we go, that's done it. So yeah, just having that rate down a little bit lower. You can see it's falling off there. And obviously there's going to be like a sweet number in between there and the mask influence. So I might go like 4. We'll play it one more time. Then we'll do like some sort of high res play blast and have a quick look at the shader as well. Yep, that kind of looks better. Right, so obviously we can dissipate the fog density and the velocity with this mask as well. But so I'll perhaps try the fog density with it, and we should start to see the smoke leave as well. So let's rewind and play. I'm not saying that in this situation you'd want the smoke to leave, but we can do it. So we can see that that's dissipating a lot sooner. but I'm not sure that's the look I want to go for, to be honest. So let's go into the actual source here, and I'm going to bring this down to like 1, and I'm just going to do a quick play blast, and we'll come back. Right, so that's about 100 frames done, and we can see we've got some really nice looking flames. We've got like a simple amount of smoke coming off of it. We've got some lovely looking propagation going on. We've got some nice movement, pattern and interest there. So I'm not saying that doing lots of daisy chains with lots of different forces is incorrect in any way. It's what you prefer to do. But the important thing is that you get your source geometry correct in the first place. If you've got interest in that source geometry, some movement, then you're going to get an interesting looking flame. So let's put that to one side. We can now look quickly at the graph itself and see what we can do to make our life easier going forward as artists. So let's just expand this, and I'm just going to pause the graph. So we can see we've barely done anything, and let's wrap it up so that we can use it at a later date, because we don't want to have to go through all this again, even though it wasn't a lot of work. So we're just going to undo this, undo that. We've got a mesh noise there, source fuel, our dissipation influences, and our mask influence, right? So we'll get all of these guys together, and we'll just go whoop, and I'm just going to go to create compound. Now let's go into this compound, and we can see that our mesh noise is coming out here, so I can just like rename this port source, and I'll rename this port mask geo. And when we come back out here, we can see that we've got source and mask geo. So all we've got to do is plug these two fellas into here. But we can go back because we want some more stuff coming out of the compound here. So we'll go back into the compound, and in the output, I'm going to put in all of these guys so that we can use them again at a later date from the compound. So really we can just go straight to assign material, but we can also use all of these points and collider volumes and whatever else we want. Let's just have a look to see if there's anything else we want to expose in the compound. You know, you might not want to drop down into the compound. It's quite easy to go into mesh noise here and be like, right, actually I want to add magnitude, frequency and speed. So, you know, if I do that, if I plug these in here, you want to do it in a better order than this, but we can move them up. Let's just go move port up, and then we'll go move port up, and we go move port up. Right, so then when I come in here, I've now got this compound, and I can mess with the magnitude, frequency and whatnot of my source object just straight away. Yeah, so you know, and then we can go through, we could add as much as we want out of all of these into this input if we want to, just to make our life easier, so we haven't got to keep diving down. Maybe I'm going to want some of these dissipation options, like the rate of the voxel temperature. Yeah, maybe I'll put that in there, and I'll rename it to voxel temp rate. And then when I come out, I've got voxel temp rate here, and I can just use it on the compound. So now it's as simple as we're just going to rename this compound. We're just going to call it Combustion, and we're just going to call it Simple Combustion. Simple Combustion, and I'm just going to right click, and I'm going to go Publish Simple Combustion. It's got a name there already, compound name Simple Combustion, and I'm going to hit Publish. So just to show you that all of this works, I'm going to delete that, pull this out here, and I'm just going to type in Simple Combustion. Here comes our node. I'm going to plug the sphere into the source there, going to plug the cube into the mask geo, and I'm going to plug this into the output here. I'm going to unlink it all, sorry, unpause the graph, and I'm going to rewind my scene, hit play, and we can see that everything is working as it should be. And that means the next time you come back, you do not have to do anything. You've done it. You've always got a simple combustion graph to get moving with straight away. So hope that was helpful. It should speed up your workflow, and you know, obviously we've been able to create these compounds. We speed our workflow up exponentially for going forward for the future. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Take care. Bye bye.